I just love a splashy Hoya. There is nothing like a splashy Hoya. I'll kick things off with my Hoya Snowball Splash. I recently got this plant, so it hasn't even got a new leaf in my care yet. It is glorious. Look at those large, round, dark green leaves that have these splashes, these little glorious splashes, and it's just looking so divine. This plant is a lovely statement piece, and it has these little flowers with little red eyes. Obviously it hasn't flowered for me yet, but that's what I read, and I really hope that it does that for me sooner rather than later. That is my Snowball Splash, just really kicking things off on my splashy Hoyas. Now, exactly what is a splashy Hoya anyway? So a splashy Hoya is a Hoya that has these little white splashes. Why do the splashes happen? So a leaf is made up of two layers. The top layer is not pigmented, and the lower layer is the layer that's got the dark green color. What happens with plants that have got splashes, they have a blister or reflective variegation, and what happens there is you've got a blister of air that separates the two layers. So you've got the top layer that doesn't have any pigmentation and the bottom layer that has pigmentation, and when the light strikes that spot, it comes out looking silver, and hence the splash. This gorgeous beauty here is my Hoya Green Exotica. Look at those divine splashes. Those leaves are glorious. They're dark green with the white splashes on them, and they can get up to 10 centimeters long. So that's a lovely elongated leaf. It just looks fantastic. The Green Exotica is actually said to be a reverted crimson princess, and if you're lucky, sometimes your Green Exotica will actually end up with some variegated leaves. So can you imagine this baby having some variegated leaves as well? That would be absolutely brilliant. That's some new growth over there. There's a lot of new growth. It's just vining every which way. This is another plant I literally just put up on this trellis. It had a smaller trellis, but I think I might have to be upgrading this trellis pretty soon. We're now in the growing season, and you know how Hoyas like to go wild. They just go insane. That's a new leaf there. You can see how it is light green compared to the older leaves, which are a darker green, and the splash is a lot more predominant. The really fabulous thing about the Green Exotica is they tend to have these hot pink flowers. They're hot pink. I'd love to see what they look like. Please, hot pink flowers, that would be really nice. Hopefully I will get some hot pink flowers, and I will show them to you when that happens. This is the Hoya Erythrina. I absolutely love this Hoya. When I got her, she only had the two leaves. She's doing really well now, and I've had to put her on a trellis because she's vining very, very nicely. You can see how that is going there. The thing that's special about this Hoya, it's called Erythrina, and the name Erythrina is taken from the Greek word erythros, which means red. And they call it that because what happens is when the sun hits these leaves and it starts to sun stress, they start to take on a red hue. Can you imagine this plant starting to look a bit red? And I can see there's a little bit going on there. Look, I don't know, maybe I kid myself. There, just over there, I think something's starting to happen because the sun is starting to come through in Melbourne now. We're in spring. There hasn't been too much sun because we were in winter, so obviously I wouldn't expect to have that happening. But I cannot wait to see that erythros coming through these gorgeously shaped dark green leaves that also have just that hint of splash on them. So this is definitely one to watch out for. One of my absolute favorite is this one over here. This is Mathilde Splash, the splash version of the Hoya Mathilde. And it's a cross between the Hoya Carnosa and the Hoya Serpens. Hoya Serpens has got the tiniest leaves. So this one has got little round leaves with that glorious splash. Look at that. That is just as splashy as you can have a Hoya, honestly. And it's doing really, really well, this plant. It's just vining to no end. I put it up on a trellis and I've got all this going on. Look at all that new growth coming through, but just honestly, I cannot get past this splash. It is glorious. One of the things I love the most about Hoyas actually is I'm not so much in love with the flowers, but I just love the foliage. It's so varied. It's so deep. Look at this one. Just the round, tiny leaves with that variegation just popping. That is the Hoya Mathilde Splash. Hoya Multiflora Java. Hoya Multiflora Java. This is a new one in my collection. I've recently acquired this one. Literally, I think it arrived in my home last week and it's still transitioning. I put her in Leca and she's, you know, enjoying her life, I hope. I really love this one because it's got those teeny tiny variegation on those leaves as well. But the Multiflora is famous for its little rocket ship flowers. It's called the Shooting Star Hoya. It's just absolutely magical. And what I absolutely love about this Hoya is when I got this plant, if you can take a look over here, there's a peduncle just there. Right there, that's a peduncle there. I think there's another one. There's another one. Oh gosh, it's got to be really hard for me to show you. I'm really excited. I had nothing to do with those. I got the plant this way. I got this plant from the Hoya store, Australia. It's this fabulous store. It's an online store, and I think they ship their plants out of Queensland in Australia, and they have the most divine Hoyas. Whatever Hoya you think of, they have it. Well, within reason, I guess. They have it, and they have these gorgeous sales on a Friday night. They shut down their website, they upload the new stock, and off you go. So it's always a fun thing to do on a Friday night. So that is my Hoya Multiflora Java. That is going to be a splashing beauty. Hoya Obovata Splash. Look at the size of that leaf. This Hoya is renowned for its large leaves that can reach up to 10 centimeters in diameter. Can you imagine that? 10 centimeters. This one's doing really well. Just look at the splashiness going on there. It's just absolutely glorious. These are the new leaves there. That's a smaller one there. Those variegations haven't yet popped through, but you can see that. But this is just the absolute take home. The thing I love about this plant as well is look at those crazy aerial roots. They're just insane. It's just wanting to do its thing. It's glorious. I love me a Hoya Splash. It's just absolutely fabulous. This Hoya Obovata Splash is one I would love to see just get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I just love to see how big my leaves can actually get. So that is my Hoya Obovata Splash doing its thing. Something a little bit different this time. This is my Hoya Krinkle. This is a Krinkle, and it's a cross between a Hoya carnosa and a Hoya carnosa compacta, what's known as the Hoya rope. So that's where you see that shape. Looks a little bit like the compacta, but not as curly as the compacta is. I've decided this is actually a Hoya Krinkle 8 and not a Hoya Krinkle 6. And there's a difference between a Hoya Krinkle 6 and a Hoya Krinkle 8. And that's largely to do with the depressions that are found on the leaves over there. So if you count, you know, those dimples on the leaves, like 1, 2, 3, 4. So this one has got 8 of them on those leaves. So I'm decided that this one is a Hoya Krinkle 8. But what's really fantastic about this Krinkle is when this Krinkle started life, it was just normal. I didn't see any splashes at all. And then came this. And I thought, whoa, where did that come from? No idea. So there's a few like that. That one is splash as well. That one is splash as well. The rest of the plant is not as splashy. So I don't know whether there's a difference between a Hoya Krinkle Splash and just the normal Hoya. but I might want to give this one a little bit more light just to make sure that I get the most splashiness that I can get out of it, because I think that if you give a Hoya splashy one more light, the splash actually tends to stand out a lot more. I don't know. I have no idea. But that's my Hoya Krinkle 8, which is, I'm now calling my Hoya Krinkle Splash because of that splashiness. This plant is really taking off. You can see the vine over there. That new growth is just going everywhere. I literally just put it on this trellis. And if you haven't seen the video where I put my Hoyas on a trellis, just click on the link above and that'll take you to it. But it looks like it's almost overgrown, this trellis, and I might need to think about something else. Oh, don't know. Problems for future me, but that's the joy of having Hoyas. Next up, we'll talk about some Hoya Publicalyx, or Hoya carnosa Publicalyx varieties. This one is my Royal Hawaiian purple hybrid. It's supposed to be the purple hybrid. I don't know, but I think one of the things I should say actually is, do you know how they're just constantly changing Hoya names? They constantly change Hoya names, and that's something that you know, I just cannot keep up. So if you find that I'm calling something that you don't think it is, just let me know in the comments below. I'd love to know what you know it as or what the new name is, because I don't know. I just call it what it was called when I bought it. Next up is my Hoya Publicalyx Pink Silver. That is that one over there. So it's a variety of the Hoya Publicalyx plant, and it is said to have some of the most gorgeous leaves among all the Publicalyx versions. This one is gorgeous, slightly silvery, not as dark green, with those perfect silver splashes. So you can see those are newer leaves there. That splash hasn't come through yet, but if you look at the older leaves there, you can see how gloriously splashy those are. Look at that. And this plant tends to have some darker pink flowers, and it's just magical, and it vines like crazy. Look at that. That is a vine going somewhere. That's another vine there. It's just going everywhere. Another one I put up on a trellis recently, but clearly I have to do more. It's just, I love them. I just love Hoyas, and I love splashy Hoyas. That is my pink silver. Look at those gorgeous, gorgeous, just absolutely spectacular there. That is my pink silver. This one here is my Hoya Publicalyx Purple Hybrid. That's that one over here. So this one has got lovely velvety purplish flowers, but when the foliage comes out, the stems are a dark purplish brown as well. So if you take a look at this stem, it's quite dark, quite purpley. So that's slightly different from the other Publicalyx species, and that's what that looks like. I will show you another one. That is a Royal Hawaiian. This is a Royal Hawaiian purple. Now, to be honest, I think this and this are the same plant, just labeled different. I don't know. Does anybody know? I would really love to know. So this one is called a Royal Publicalyx Purple Hybrid, and this one is a Royal Hawaiian Purple. I think they're the same plant. They look very, very similar. They look the same to me. And this one also has that sort of dark brown, purple stem, and the new leaves, that's a new leaf there. They tend to have this purpley, oh, hang on. The new leaves tend to have this dark purple vein as well going through. So dark purpley, 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 purple seems to be the theme. I very much believe that it's the same plant. Anywho, talking about same plants, look at this. This is a Royal Hawaiian Super Splash. It's called a Super Splash. There you go. It is super, super splashy. Splashiest of all splashes. It is just, I've never seen a plant this splashy. Look at, that's the new growth there. That's the latest leaf. And even that, it is just as flashy as anything. It's doing really well, vining as much as it possibly can for now. And this is a new vine over here. So it's really taking off new leaves. Look at those. That's just absolutely fabulous. I love this one. I'll show you another one though. This is also called a Publicalyx splash. Now, me thinks again that this one and this one are probably the same plant. I don't know. It's really, really confusing with these Hoyas and when you're buying them, because they're called different things and you think, is this a different one? Is it not? I'll just buy it because mine's not called this. And then you get home and they start to look the same. But it doesn't matter. I love them all. That right there. Look at that. Just look at that new growth. That's the new one. Very, very light green compared to the darker one, to the older one, which is a lot darker. And that splash just goes for days. This is a new vine over there with some new leaves. I am really just loving how this is living. And I'm just really loving how this is just accentuating those splashes. They look glorious. I will say though, if you think my splashy Hoyas were fabulous, you need to go and see my variegated Hoyas because those are a work of art. I'll see you there.